This is the plaintiff, Jennifer Simpson. She says her nasty neighbor butchered a sentimental tree on her property, and he had no such right to do so. That tree was planted in honor of her deceased father. The thing looks like a Q-tip now. He trespassed onto her property, and the louse refuses to do anything about it. She's rip-roaring mad and suing for the $500 she surely owed. This is the defendant, Joel Lusso. He says the tree in question was planted on the property line, and the ugly, overgrown thing was completely overhanging onto his side of the property. The plaintiff ignored all his requests to trim the unsightly thing, so he trimmed the tree to make it look respectable at his own expense. So instead of getting a thank you from the plaintiff for making the tree look nice, she turns around and sues him. Some neighbors. He's accused of taking matters into his own scissor hands.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says her neighbor, the defendant, trespassed and butchered her beloved tree. But the defendant says the tree was ugly and overgrown. It's the case of I don't like your bark.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, so you live in Volusia County in what city?
Daytona.
In Daytona,
Yes.
Florida. All right. And do you actually live there or are you renting it out?
Not currently, no.
All right. Do you rent it out or no?
Yes.
All right. So you buy the house next door to her, correct?
That is correct.
And that house had been damaged in a fire?
That is correct.
And there was an offending tree. How was the tree offending you?
The tree that is on the sideline with my property and the plaintiff has totally outgrown out of proportion to a point where I could not go through the side of the property.
Okay.
in order
Is
to
that
do
your
inspection.
property? Is that a picture taken
is correct.
from your property?
That is correct. That's taken
Okay.
right from, you can see the fence. That's where the subject tree is.
How is that blocking you? I mean, it's on your property, so I understand what you're saying, but it's so pretty. Like how, and it's not stopping you from going in and out. That is pretty tight. That's that white picket fence is the fence
That is correct.
between you two?
Correct.
And
That this picture is not doing much justice because if you look at the picture towards the house itself, there are staircases that came into play. Even if you
so
bend over,
it's bothering you. All right, so
cannot.
do you call her and you tell her what?
I explained to her that I need access to my property, and this tree is on not allow me to do so.
Okay.
And these are voice messages that I left.
Okay, you tell me, do you have a conversation with him?
I had a conversation with him once, and then we
Okay.
played phone tag a few times.
And what was the conversation?
The conversation, well, this all started really back on July 25th when he emailed my property manager, or he contacted my property manager, saying that I needed to pay to have the tree trimmed back. And then my property manager emails me saying, this neighbor wants you to pay to have the tree trimmed back. So in Florida, it's his responsibility.
It's his responsibility in Florida. It's his prerogative to cut from the earth to the heavens that's on his side
Yes.
at his cost.
Yes.
Correct.
As long as the tree is in good shape, good health.
Do you talk to him?
Well, I did, and I told him just that
You
it was
told
his
him the law, and what
responsibility.
was his
and he was
reaction?
just angry about it, just not really happy about it. So I didn't have a
Because
good...
you thought she should pay to trim it because it's her tree
Your
overgrowing on
Honor,
your
this
property.
is a lie. I have never spoken with the defendant,
you
with
say
the
you did
plaintiff.
speak
Yes, I
to
spoke
him.
with
There
him
never
one
been
time,
a
yes.
conversation.
Yes.
It was voice messages.
Okay, so
Sure.
so tell me, does she tell you, hey, listen, if you want to cut what's on your side,
Never.
did you ever talk to a lawyer to figure out what your rights are?
No.
So what'd you do?
I went ahead and trimmed the tree so I can get access, and you can see the following photos. The tree is back to where it was before.
I want to look at this picture.
Okay.
This is what we will refer to as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1, otherwise known as a Q-tip. Is this the tree that I just saw here? Is that the same tree? I can't hear your answer.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
And is this your house with the carp on it?
That is correct.
How? Okay, you have a right to cut what's on your side. How did this get cut like this? Did you go on her property?
I had to, the gardener that I use a ladder in order to trim the property, correct?
Did you go on her property? or send your gardener on her property?
The gardener did.
At your direction, correct? Why did you cut all of her tree? Why did you do that?
I don't remember that was the way the tree was. I
Okay,
have some,
now you said that I'll see that the tree looks great now. Show me pictures of how the tree is full now.
this is what, as of 2 weeks ago, that's what the tree looked like.
Okay, so is it accurate that that's how it looks now?
Any of this growth is considered sucker growth. It is wound tissue on a tree. This tree will never be as sturdy as the original growth. We have hurricanes, tropical storms that come through. These new growth will easily snap off and break.
That depends on the tree, you know, so you can't really say that it will never grow back the same. You
Well,
are not an arborist. You don't
I
have any
can.
arborist testimony. Do you
Well,
have an
No,
affidavit
I
from an
don't.
arborist?
But I was not able to bring
For
my.
all I know, he's cut it again after
Well,
that.
I could have, but my fiance, who was not able to be here for health reasons, is a botanist and a horticulturist. And so he is the one that has given me all this information to bring here. I mean, I've been with him for 20 years, so.
Okay, how long you've been with your partner is not really.
No, I know,
But
but-
where do you come off? Oh, by the way, is this tarp still there?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you worry about your house that looks awful rather than a few leaves that are blocking a little bit of the way?
This is part of the ongoing process of renovation of the property. I did not put those
Well, I
parts.
got to tell you, I don't know
But he's done
how.
nothing.
So is this defendant allowed to go onto the plaintiff's property to cut the branches? What do you say?
I would say not,
Because?
because it's not his property.
Well, that's true, but what if the branches overhang onto the defendant's property?
Absolutely not. He has to ask permission from the owner, make everything in writing, and then you'll know you're okay.
I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but if it's encroaching, can't you like take a couple of steps onto?
I mean, technically it's not their property, but the job has to get done, doesn't it?
Well, that's the question. That is exactly the question going inside the courtroom.
I don't know how you think that you have what about what she texted you or phone messages that she left made you think you had permission to go on someone else's property and cut down their tree to make it look like a Q-tip. What message did she leave you saying, sure, go ahead, do what you need to do?
So this Q-tips is not what the property looked like after
Of course
we did
it
the
is.
trimming.
You showed me how it looked after
I
you.
don't have the
Right,
evidence.
exactly. So,
But I do have
what-
a picture to show you.
Yeah, I know with the picture you're showing me now. I get what you're saying. The tree has grown back. But I also get what she's saying, which is, number one, you trespassed onto her property, which you had no permission to do. So I'd like to know, if you had permission, can you show me the permission? Did she leave you a message saying, do what you got to do?
I do not.
Right.
Would I
In
be able to
fact,
say-
what she told you was, you have a right to cut what's on your side.
No, that was never been said.
Well, maybe you should find out what you have a right to do.
Understood,
because
Your Honor.
ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yeah.
Would I be able to add one more thing?
Sure.
He had the nerve also to take the tree trimmings from my tree and another tree, an elm tree that was growing out of his porch. Imagine an elm tree coming out of his porch, and he takes all those tree trimmings and puts them in my front yard. So when I get there, the city had already picked up most of it, but there's remnants of all the leaves, including his
So
elm
what'd you
tree
say?
leaves.
Did you ever confront them?
Your Honor,
Yeah.
there-
Hold on. Did you ever confront
Yes,
them?
in a text. I have 4 texts
Let
I've
me see
given.
the text. Do you have them?
Yes, I do. And he never responded.
May I reply to this, Your
Hold
Honor?
on. First, I'm reading it. Ooh, capital letters. She's yelling. What you did to our tree is illegal. You had no right to come on our property and cut most of our beautiful tree down. We have before pics to prove it. We have cameras on the property as well. Did you catch anything on camera?
My cameras weren't working,
Okay, if you
unfortunately.
knew the law, you know you can't cut a tree down that much, only the portions that are on your yard. You are so concerned about that beautiful tree, and yet you still have a tarp on the roof, and the house still looks like blank. Won't be the last time you hear from us. You ruined that beautiful flowering tree.
Your Honor?
Not much in this neighborhood is beautiful, and you had to destroy the one thing that is. What is wrong with you? Nice. Thought a new neighbor would be an improvement.
Yeah.
Listen up. There's not a darn thing you're saying that would justify what you did there. there's also not a darn thing you're showing me that would justify that the tree cost to replace. The tree would cost $500. Where's your evidence of that?
Well, it's kind of hard to find because it's a dwarf orchid tree. Okay, so dwarf orchid in itself is very rare to find. This tree was...
So how do you know it's $500?
Okay, well, I have some pictures here of some regular orchid trees. They were 5 foot tall. And this one's $119, but it's not a dwarf orchid.
So do you have evidence to support your lawsuit that it costs $500?
Well, how do you put a price on something that's rare? We can't even find it.
You can't put a price on it,
can't
and
really
that's
put a
where the
price
problem
on
lies.
it.
You got to put a price on it. In other words, what you get, on
Yes.
the way you filed your lawsuit is you want the value of the tree.
Yes, but you can't...
But here's what's about to happen. Stop talking. What's about to happen is I am going to conform your pleadings to the evidence and amend your lawsuit to include the trespass. Because you talked about it, you're just not a lawyer and you don't know how to phrase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also
because
my
the tree may not be worth $500, but the trespass sure is.
Well, my tree was actually 10 foot tall. These right here for sale are 5 to 6 feet. My tree was at least a 3-inch...
It's not obvious you're winning?
Sorry?
Is it obvious that you're winning
yes,
or no?
Yes, I appreciate that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to order you for the trespass and for the beauty that she lacked for the whole time that it took to grow back. I'm ordering you to pay her $500. Pay the lady. You don't have a right to do that, and don't do it again.
So the plaintiff gets what she is seeking, $500. Mr. Lasue, what are you thinking?
It's simply wrong. There was a lot of lies in this courtroom. The picture that was shown, certainly that was not what the tree looked like after we trim it. So it's not a nice way to purchase a property in the neighborhood, and the first time you're going to meet your neighbor next door is to a courtroom. And this is somebody you should do all the due diligence, knock on the door, sending a card.
What's this going to do to your relationship with your neighbor? I mean, you're going to have to give her the $500. And the tree does look like what it was after it was trimmed.
Right.
And
so
you did trespass.
Yeah, but my neighbor have the right to be who she is. I'm not here to call it, but I'm here to be a citizen, a good citizen.
All right.
And I'll be fine.
Good enough.
Thank
you
you
very much. You must sign some documents on your way out of the courtroom. You were starting to argue with the judge, and you were winning. You know that.
I am so sorry. I think I was just a little nervous.
No kidding. All right, well, you're going to get the $500.
That sounds good.
But look, the tree looks much better now, doesn't it?
Well, I would argue with that. I mean, it may look like it's better, but appearances can be deceiving.
Okay. Well, congratulations anyway, you did win. So thank you very much. You must sign some documents, and Harvey?
Okay, I mean, we have dealt, Doug, with this a lot on the People's Court. So if you have an encroaching tree onto your property, you are allowed to cut up to the property line. That's it. You can absolutely cut the encroaching branches and whatnot. If you have to go on the neighbor's property for whatever reason, they're all right. You cannot do it. You cannot do it without getting permission from the plaintiff. And somebody here, I think you, said you should get it in writing, and that's a really smart idea.